What's up, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and none of the above? This is DL bringing you a Zenyatta matchup guide. At the time of recording, this is during the whole quarantine crisis, the coronavirus, and all that jazz. And I'm currently procrastinating writing my last paper for college. I thought, what better way to do that than to also use Microsoft Word at the same time? So this is going to be a video talking about Zenyatta's place within the overall metagame of Overwatch, especially since the introduction of hero pools. You're seeing different metas each week, and so it's really good to know what metas Zenyatta looks strong in, which ones he looks strong against, and when he's looking on the weaker side. And so this is going to be a matchup guide that not only talks about like what heroes Zenyatta likes to play against, but also with an indication of like when this hero is really strong in the meta, Zenyatta probably is looking like a pretty good pick, whereas when these heroes are strong, maybe you want to avoid him, stuff like that. And I've actually been working on a written Zenyatta guide, and I'm going to be including this as sort of complementary piece to that. So all that out of the way, I'd like to bring you the first level. So this is going to be sort of a tiered matchup from best matchups to worst, I'd say. And for starters, we have the farm. Nice little Sigma head peeking out there. So these are characters that Zenyatta matches up very comfortably against. Basically, if the other team has these, Zenyatta is a counter pick. So of course, Zen counters Zen. I had to throw that in there. I mean, Zen is a threat to himself for sure. If you discord a Zenyatta, I mean, he'll probably drop. He's very susceptible to being dove, and he supports dive himself. So yeah, Zen counters Zen. Zarya is actually a pretty interesting one because Zarya. So her primary value is her ultimate, Graviton Surge, but Zenyatta's Transcendence is the premier counter to Graviton Surge, other than eating it with D.Va's Defense Matrix or like Sigma's Kinetic Grasp. But like Zenyatta is the most consistent counter to Zarya's Graviton Surge. Additionally, Zarya poses the least threat to Zenyatta of all off tanks in the game. If you compare Zarya to heroes like D.Va or even Roadhog or Sigma, Zarya lacks the strong range to contest Zenyatta. She lacks the mobility to contest Zenyatta. She's not really a threat to him if Zenyatta has good positioning. Like the best threat you have is actually we're going to talk about when we get to the Lucio, is just sort of trying to run an up-tempo death ball composition and just run Zen down. But especially if Zenyatta has access to high ground, like Zarya literally cannot do anything to him. At least Roadhog can try to throw a hook, or Sigma has some nice flexible shielding to try to take away some of the effectiveness of the Zenyatta. But Zen is really strong against Zarya because you counter that Graviton Surge, you do a ton of damage that Zarya is very bad at mitigating. While it is true that she can cleanse discords with her bubbles, that's really all she has to prevent it. It's not like a barrier that's going to prevent you from casting your Discord orbs, and all you need to do is wait for the bubbles to be gone, and you can easily discord them and focus them as a team. Additionally, Zarya herself is very weak against a lot of compositions that Zenyatta is strong in. For example, again, if you're running a double shield bunker composition, Zarya has a difficult time farming ult charge against that. If you're running a dive composition, Zarya is quite weak against dive. She's one of, if not the worst off tank at peeling. By that I mean defending her like supports and DPS from high mobility heroes such as like Winston, D.Va, Tracer, Genji, Doomfist. All she really has for that is her friendly bubble, which is on a pretty considerable cooldown. It has like 200 HP, I believe, so it can be helpful. But it's very limited, lasts just a short time. Zarya doesn't have mobility to come back and help her her backline. She really needs to be like up close and personal. She wants to be brawling, so it makes her really bad at peeling. And Zarya herself is pretty squishy for a tank as well. 200 HP plus 200 shield health. If Zarya has no personal bubble, you can just discord her, and she's a perfectly viable dive target. No armor even. Yeah, she is quite weak against dive. So Bastion. Bastion is another character that Zenyatta, I would say, is a pretty hard counter to. Bastion basically relies on hiding behind shields in turret form in order to be a valuable pick. You can argue you can run around in recon form, but you're just a subpar version of Soldier 76 at that point. Bastion's going to be stationary, hiding behind shields. Zenyatta, basically since the heyday of Orisa Sigma, when the shields are nigh unbreakable, Zenyatta's been a pretty good pick at a shield breaker. You saw him in the double shield meta, the later versions of that in the Zen Baptiste compositions, where he's very good at range poke, since he has extremely accurate projectiles with no damage fall off and pretty high speed. Additionally, if you can get the discord on, say, the Orisa or the Bastion, they're just going to get melted even faster. And the issue with these static bunker Bastion compositions is they're really bad at controlling a lot of space because they can't move. And Zenyatta is a very effective hero and taking a lot of angles, which is really what you want to do so that the Bastion can't really focus you all down very easily. Zenyatta can easily set up a position different from his other teammates and just start mowing the Bastion down. So I think Zen is extremely good against Bastion, and if the other team is playing Bastion, Zenyatta would be a good counter pick to that. So next up, this is going to be going into the characters that Zenyatta is good with and against. So if these characters are strong in the metagame, then Zenyatta is probably pretty strong as well, since he's both good against them and good with them. So these characters being played is a good sign for Zen. So characters that Zen's going to be good with are going to be characters that counteract dive, which are the characters that put a lot of pressure on Zenyatta, because he's the most, I guess technically the second most immobile support in the game after Ana, since you can, what's the term called? Zenyatta with your ultimate. So characters like McCree and Torbjorn are very good against dive. They have a flashbang from McCree, high burst damage from Torb, a turret, really good peel. These are good mid-range DPS characters, which sort of function along the same sort of sight lines that Zenyatta likes to be on. So they're good at playing together and protecting each other. And then these are the bunker tanks, Orisa, Sigma, and Roadhog. So they also sort of fit that sort of mid-range poke, really high poke damage that Zenyatta is good at supporting. These tanks are also require a lot less demanding on high healing output from your supports, which is definitely something that makes Zenyatta more valuable. Obviously he doesn't consistently pump out the healing that a character like Ana or Moira would. So having strong shields, ranged poke, and a self heal for these tanks makes them less requiring of just being hard pocketed by your supports the way something like a Reinhardt would have to be. Since it must be up close and personal, swinging his hammer. It's pretty easy to shoot a Reinhardt. Now, in terms of Zenyatta's matchups against these characters, I'd say they're pretty good. Zen and McCree, they both frag each other pretty hard. I'd say Zenyatta is actually quite favored in the duel against Torbjorn because his projectiles are a lot more accurate. Zen is extremely good at melting Orisa. As we mentioned, he's a shield breaker, so that helps against a lot of the Sigma compositions. And in terms of Roadhog, while Zen is pretty easy to hook, Zen is also very good at melting Roadhog, especially if you see more of a flank playstyle. Zenyatta amplifies the power of team focus fire a lot through his Discord, and generally the communication that a Zenyatta often provides to your team. So Zen is very good at punishing Roadhog for his aggression, and additionally, Zenyatta has a range advantage over Roadhog, so if you can play outside the range of Hook, you should have a pretty good time against Hog. Though obviously Ana is actually the premier support against Roadhog thanks to her anti-need and sleep dart. So next up, it's going to be a pretty good matchup. So these are going to be characters that Zenyatta is a strong pick against, but not necessarily a strong pick with. So you're going to see some characters that are more reflective of different playstyles that Zen doesn't quite fit, but that he can be pretty effective with his own team comps against. So for one, we have Soldier 76. So Soldier is pretty similar to McCree in terms of being a mid-range hit scan hero, but the difference is Soldier has a self-heal and a little bit of mobility with his sprint. So what he's really good at is running around and taking different angles, which is why him and Zenyatta actually would sort of compete for a team slot in the olden days before 2-2-2 lock. You often saw Zenyatta players even playing Soldier. So the issue with Soldier is he doesn't have any CC, and he doesn't have that much health, and he's got a pretty big hurt box as well. So it means he's relatively easy to frag. I mean, he does have his healing station, but that's on a really long cooldown, I think like 15 seconds. And then his sprint's pretty meh. So like if you're playing Zenyatta dive composition and you discord a Soldier, it's like, yeah, he's probably gonna die. He's not very good against dive. I mean, he can live more easily than McCree, but he can't protect your team as easily as McCree either. Like back in the day, you didn't see a lot of McCree against dive because there weren't really good characters to play alongside of him to help protect him. But when you saw the later, protect the McCree strategies, you saw why like stacking stuns and stuff really makes a difference. Speaking of which, we have the Ice Queen herself, Mei. So Zenyatta doesn't really work that well with Mei because Mei is a close range hero. I mean, she has pretty good. Her projectile is pretty decent, and her freeze is pretty decent against dive as well. So, you certainly can play Zen with Mei. You saw Mei in a decent amount of bunker compositions, but I wouldn't say that the synergy is exactly stellar, because Zenyatta, you want Lucio, really, when you pick Mei, because it helps you follow up with aggression on her walls, but you can play a more defensive playstyle with Mei, and it works with Zen. It's not terribly anti-synergetic. But the reason I'd say Zen is pretty good against Mei is because, similar to Torbjorn, he's actually pretty good at the duel, at the 1v1s, because he has a better projectile, actually, than Mei does. Additionally, if Mei's ice block is down, similar to the Zarya situation, discord on her, and she's pretty easy to dive with her cooldowns down. Also, Zen is very high damage. If you compare Zenyatta against Mei versus, say, Moira against Mei, and your teammate gets, say, split off by Mei wall, Zen can break that pillar a lot faster than a Moira can. So, characters like Zenyatta or Junkrat, they're really good at breaking the pillars of the wall. And so that can make Mei feel a lot less useful. Next we have Farah. So Zen can play with Farah as well, with Pharmacy Dive. It's just that Zenyatta has to be really safe when Mercy is trying to pocket Farah. So if they have a lot of backline pressure themselves, it can be very difficult to be playing Zenyatta. And that's why you see people often playing Ana or Lucio instead in Pharmacy Dive compositions. But he can support Farah pretty well. He's pretty good at healing her with his Harmony Orb, since it's like very consistent range healing. And he's got a lot of long range support in his kit from his orbs and the long range damage. It really helps support a lot of dive compositions by just helping to muscle through a lot of the fat that you see in Death Ball and Bunker. But Zenyatta is pretty good against Farah as well, because if you think of, say you're running like Zenyatta and McCree, just getting a Discord on Farah makes a world of difference, even for a hero like D.Va, to help just really pressure out the Farah. Like, nobody wants to be discorded in the game, but you know, when you're investing so much into your composition through running a pharmacy, the discord applies so much pressure, it makes it a lot easier to shut down the Farah. Additionally, Zenyatta is one of the better supports at actually contesting Farah himself. You know, if you compare Zenyatta to the likes of, say, Moira or Lucio or Brig, they really can't do much to Farah. Whereas characters like Zenyatta, Baptiste, and Ana actually can shoot Farah decently and apply some good pressure. So next up we have Reinhardt. So this is a character that you do not want to play Zenyatta with. Reinhardt is not good at peeling. Reinhardt wants to be up close and personal and brawling. He wants a Lucio, he wants a Moira, he wants a Brig, he wants an Ana. Any of that, he does not want Zen. Reinhardt is also the most healing hungry of all tanks in the game. Like, Ryan wants his team to play through him, but Zenyatta also wants the team to play through him. So they're pretty antithetical characters to each other. And you used to see Zen with Ryan back in the day during the Mercy meta, but that's just because all the other supports were pretty bad at the time, to be honest. And so you just saw Zen Mercy played all the time. And you just see, Reinhardt occasionally thrown in on maps like King's Row. So the reason Zen is pretty good against Reinhardt, though, is because, similar to the Zarya situation, he doesn't have any mobility, and he has even less range than Zarya. All he has is the Fire Strike kind of cooldown. And other than that, he's just a hammerman. So Reinhardt applies very little pressure to Zenyatta, especially if he has access to high ground. The only way Ryan pressures Zen is if they can rush onto him. And that's easily countered with good Zenyatta positioning. So if Zen is able to hold a power position, he's very, very good at just spamming Reinhardt. Ryan hates being discorded because he's the easiest thing in the world to shoot. Like, everybody's focusing Reinhardt usually if you're running like a bunker composition against the death ball. Just discord Ryan. It makes a world of difference. He does not. Ryan hates being discorded. Really prevents him from doing his job. Like, he can't really hold space very well if he's discorded. Zen has a ton of shield break, especially with Ryan's weakened shield. And additionally, Ryan can only shield things sort of behind him. So if you're playing a more sort of like a dive composition, and you're playing Zen for angles of damage, you'll be very, very effective against that. Since Zen's pretty good at creating additional angles of damage in comparison to other supports. He's basically a third DPS in some compositions. Now, Ryan can actually be favored against Zenyatta on different maps and such. It all sort of depends on the map geography. But if you can play really high up-tempo deathball composition, then just forces the issue immediately. You can take good advantage of things like Lucio speed boost. Ryan can just sort of run over a composition that features Zenyatta, but Ryan does not want to play against them overall. So you just have like high damage or whatever, and prevent Ryan from just literally W-mouse winning your team. So that should be really good. Like, if you imagine a map like Junkertown, Ryan can't get anywhere and do anything without just getting melted. So next up is an interesting matchup that's sort of another battle of different styles of play. This is Moira. Moira is literally my least favorite support to have on my team, especially as Zenyatta. She is terrible at peeling. I mean, she has a fade that can help her reposition. That's really her only mobility, and it's not vertical whatsoever. So you compare that to a character like Mercy or Lucio, or even Baptiste. She isn't really good at getting to the positions that Zenyatta is, or Zen wants to be, to help him. Additionally, her healing is very short-ranged. In comparison to a character like Ana, that can, say Zen's off somewhere else. Ana can heal her. Additionally, Moira can't really position herself in the same spots as Zenyatta, because she needs to be closer to her team, right up with her tanks often. Whereas Zenyatta wants to play far away from the other team and play the keep away game. And if you compare Moira to a character like Ana or Baptiste, or even Mercy, they can actually play alongside the Zenyatta and be very effective. Additionally, Zen is a character that provides a lot of damage. Wants to play in bunker comps, dive comps. Moira wants to play in deathball and just survive. The goal of playing Moira is to just live on support and do healing. Great character design. Yeah. Since the Moira healing nerf, that playstyle hasn't been terribly effective in a lot of cases. You see it mostly on Koth maps. But Zen is good at just raking in the extra damage to help dive compositions muscle through Moira compositions. I mean, you could argue Ana also is pretty good check to Moira, since it provides similar healing output, but the anti-nade can sort of nullify what Moira is able to provide. But yeah, Zen compositions should be pretty decent against Moira comps, though she is more robust than a lot of other supports, like say an Ana or Baptiste. A Zen dive has the extra punch that a dive is looking for against the Moira comp. I mean, you just provide so much more utility. If you are living on Zen, you should be beating the Moira, in my opinion. So next up, we have the next set of matchups. So these are going to be characters that Zenyatta is good with. So we talked about that kind of with the earlier category of good with and against. So these are going to be characters that do a good job of usually protecting Zenyatta. Is what a lot of these characters are going to be with, since Zenyatta is a glass cannon and sort of a protect the president type character. But Zenyatta is also good with these characters and can support them very well. So, for example, Brigitte is the quintessential anti-dive character. You can even run Brig with dive, since she does have some range healing with her repair packs now. And Brig can just pocket a Zen and make him very difficult to kill. Junkrat is the quintessential anti-dive DPS, I guess. Though I could say McCree and Tor are probably better in that regard at the moment. Yeah, Junkrat has a ton of damage to his blow up whoever comes at Zen. His trap is also pretty good against characters like Doomfist or even Sombra. If it's really good at placing his traps, understanding how enemy DPS want to roll out, understanding Zenyatta's positioning. Zen and Junkrat can play from the same position in the same way Kree and Torb can. Mid-ranged, high-damage DPS. Mercy is really good at protecting Zen, since she can heal through barriers, especially if you're getting doped by Winston. She can actually heal you, and if she Valks, she actually heals equivalent to Winston, so you literally can't do any damage to you anymore. She has high mobility, so she's good at peeling for you even at high grounds. And both of these supports are really good at just amplifying overall damage output, so they have a lot of synergy in that regard. If your composition is looking for damage from the support category, these are sort of what you go to, or Baptiste in place of one of those two supports as well. They have synergy with a lot of the same DPS heroes as well, characters like McCree, Torbjorn, Widowmaker, stuff like that. Yeah. Additionally, Transcendence and Res have some pretty good synergy. If you can trans to get an important res off, for example, it's give her the Holy Pocket. Alright, next up we have Genji. So Genji is a dive character that Zenyatta is good at supporting, but he's not actually that bad against Genji as a dive character, because similar to Zarya, Dragon Blade, Transcendence is one of the premier counters to it. Though I'd say Lucio has definitely got a better matchup against Genji than Zenyatta does. Zen's still pretty solid against Genji. I'm recording. So sorry about that. Zenyatta good at providing a lot of range support to Genji. Some people have a lot of difficulty healing Genji. Moira is basically not going to be healing Genji very effectively. Zen has that strong, consistent ranged healing. It's easy to land the Harmony Orb. Additionally, Zenyatta, Genji's pretty low damage output, low medium damage output just relative to other DPS in terms of like the raw damage he does. So you can really appreciate the damage amplification from Zenyatta's Discord, and he's really good at diving, targets that Zen's Discord and like range damage, targets. Baptiste is like the quintessential sort of bunker support between his amplification matrix and mortality field. He's really tailored towards supporting characters that want to stay in place and hold their ground, which is sort of what Zenyatta would like to do, other than wanting to rotate all the time to avoid people. Yeah, his immortality field is really good at keeping Zen alive through dives. His regenerative burst is good at that. They can play from the same sight lines, just like create orb, etc., etc. Zen is good with Baptiste. They have very complementary playstyles where they just want to play from range and melt everything that comes in their sights. So yeah, if Baptiste is really strong, Zenyatta is really good with the Baptiste compositions. It's really between like Zen, Mercy, and Baptiste is like the premier bunker supports. So next up, we're going to have the next tier, which is the characters that Zenyatta is good with but bad against. So this is mostly going to be dive heroes and snipers. So Zenyatta has the most consistent healing, other than like Mercy, in the game with his Harmony Orb. He heals through barriers and it's very long range, which is really good at supporting characters who want to go far away, like Winston, D.Va, and Tracer. Now you'd say, oh yeah, Ana can heal these people too, right? When she does more healing to Zen and it's long range, yeah. Zenyatta's Harmony Orb even has some limitations to its range. Ana's darts don't. What does Ana not do? Ana doesn't heal through barriers. So if there's a shield, one of these guys or one of these guys over there, and your tanks go in, your Ana can't heal them anymore if the shield's in the way. Or what if the Winston comes over here and stands in between? Your Ana can't do anything with the Winston in your face. What about Tracer? Tracer's out zipping around, dodging McCree flashbangs, dodging Zenyatta orbs, dodging storm arrows from Hanzo, and your Ana's gonna hit her. She can do it, but it's a lot more difficult. You can't really rely on that. It's a lot easier to hit the Harmony Orb. So Zen is very, very good at healing these characters who want to play far away. Same case with these. If you're playing like a split like sniper composition, one, Zenyatta is a sniper in his own right, and two, if like a Winston dive these, and your Ana's not like standing in the bubble right next to them, your Ana literally can't heal them. Zen can. And additionally, like if Winston or D.Va's coming for these guys, and you discord the monkey, and they eat a headshot, that's a ton of damage. Like, your orbs are so good at peeling for people in these sort of dueling scenarios. And so these are the sort of characters that require peel, the snipers, and ranged peel at that. They don't really want people to be standing right next to them, other than a character like Mercy, who is sort of the premier support at supporting snipers. But Zenyatta is definitely a close second in that regard. I could say Brig is actually pretty good at just being a pocket shield for them as well. Because Zen actually doesn't want to play against these characters either. He's very easy to headshot, so the snipers are good at doing that, though Zenyatta is also a pretty decent threat to these characters in their own right. Like, he's good at supporting dive, and snipers are not great against dive. Also, like, what's a Moira gonna do to a Widow or Hanzo? Nothing. Well, if a Zenyatta peeks a corner and you don't see it coming, he can literally just 5-orb you to the dome, and you're dead. So he poses a much greater threat to the snipers. So it's not actually that bad of a matchup. Additionally, like against these characters, like they have high mobility and like burst damage in the case of these two, Tracer and D.Va. But Zenyatta is very, very good at being bait. Like, people want to go after him, but you're gonna take a lot of damage. So Zen is very, very good at making your team blow these characters up on their way in. Like Winston comes in, he gets discorded, he gets shot by a bunch of orbs. Like, if you discord him and you're McCree fans of the hammer, the monkey's gonna die. That's just how it works. D.Va is actually quite good with Zenyatta as well. Very, very good. Like, D.Va meta is very, very good for Zen. One, because she counters both Ana and Moira. Counters Ana especially hard. Two, D.Va is the best off-tank at peeling in the entire game. Though Roadhog actually has some matchups that are better against specific dive characters than D.Va. Namely against Doomfist and Sombra. But like, D.Va is very, very good at shutting down characters like Tracer that would want to go at Zenyatta. And Tracer, I mean, Tracer doesn't want to be discorded. It puts her in a lot of one-shot ranges. Characters like McCree can one-shot her with the headshot with the discord. Widowmaker can one-shot body shot her with discord. Just for a couple of examples. So yeah, Zen can also just randomly, hit a volley and pick off the Tracer as well. So it's definitely a scary character, though Tracer is pretty good. Very, very good at killing Zenyatta. But the matchup, like, a smart Zen will definitely provide a good amount of counterplay. And that's sort of how these matchups work. Like, these are, not favorable matchups for Zenyatta. But you could argue these two. Like, Zen might be the counter pick your team needs from the support category for these two. But these are certainly very playable matchups, and he's very, very good at supporting all these characters as well. In terms of these characters, the range healing's good, and they're also really good at following up on his range damage and discord orbs. They're very, very good at hunting down the purple orb. Like Tracer farms Zen a bit, yeah. But like Tracer also wants Zen. Like, this is the best support to have with a Tracer. You could argue like Brig is pretty good at that too, but you could run both, Zen Brig. She also really appreciates the damage amplification, especially in comparison to some other dive DPS. They don't really need the damage amp. We'll get to those later. So that's that category. So these characters are strong. Zenyatta can be strong, but he can also be a major liability. So these characters are pretty neutral in terms of what it means for Zenyatta. The Zen-Ana matchup, I mean, the extra oomph of damage that Zen provides can often counteract the strength of the healing of Ana. But, and yeah, like, Ana's really bad against dive, so I'd say Zen actually is a pretty decent matchup against Ana overall. But usually when Ana's good, that doesn't usually mean that Zenyatta is good as well. Usually you're picking between the two. You can play both, but you're really, really opening yourself to get countered by dive. Now, Hammond is good at killing Zenyatta, very good at killing Zenyatta. He has more mobility than Winston or D.Va. And he's not as good at peeling as these two tanks. So if Hammond's good, it's not as good for Zen as if Winston and D.Va are good. But Hammond gets melted by focus fire, especially if he pile drives on your team and has a discord orb on him. He does not want that. Though he would probably, in some scenarios, prefer the Zen to getting slept by Ana. Like these two supports, like Hammond sure threatens them, but they also threaten him. Ash is not as good as McCree at protecting Zenyatta, though she's okay in that regard. She's sort of an in-between of Widowmaker and Kree. If you can play in her damage fall-off range, even if she has a Mercy Pocket, you can avoid the one-shot that Widowmaker provides. The thing is, Ash, she doesn't usually play so split like a Widowmaker does, oftentimes, to the point where she really needs the Harmony Orb as the peel tool. And she's only really seen with a Mercy Pocket for the most part. So you're usually seeing like Ana Mercy alongside Ash. Next up, Lucio. Zen Lucio, I like it, but your tanks won't. It's not a lot of healing. So Lucio is really good at repositioning Zenyatta. Like Zen Lucio dive is a very, very aggressive form of dive. But if you've never tried it before, you'd be amazed at how effective Zenyatta is with Lucio pocket. Like, Lucio is a better pocket for Zenyatta than Mercy is. It's like, no cap. But the one thing is, these characters are sort of antithetical in some scenarios. Like, Lucio can be played in some dive compositions. You can see like on Lucio dive, as we mentioned, Zen Lucio dive. Even like Lucio Mercy if you're playing a Farah. But Lucio is the character that keeps Deathball alive. And Deathball is the one style that Zenyatta does not fit. So often, if Deathball is really strong, then Lucio is going to be really good, and Zenyatta won't be looking so good if Deathball is dominant. So next up, we got Sim in a category of our own. Zen is not good with Sim. Sim is terrible at peeling. She gets hard countered by a character like... She gets countered by stuff like Winston and snipers and such. Like, don't play Zen with Sim. You're just gonna get countered by a lot of the same things. Like, most other projectile DPS will work better with Zen and will protect Zen better. Like, Zen doesn't even support Sim very well. Like, you know, she doesn't really get peeled for that well by Zen. I don't know. Sim is weird. Like, he's fine against Sim. Like, you can help blow up Sim comps with Zen's damage. The one thing you have to look out for is being TP bombs, I guess. But, you know, just play a Narnia style Zenyatta, and the Sim will do literally nothing against you. Bad with, bad against. If Reaper is really good, that is not good for Zenyatta. Zen is terrible at supporting Reaper. He's a big chunky boy. He wants a Lucio, an Ana, like Moira, like those three characters that are the supports that do well with Reaper. Zen does not. Zen's gigantic hurt box is also awesome for spread characters like Reaper, because it's really easy for him to 2 or even 1-shot you. But the one thing is, Reaper has really short range, so if you're really using your ears very well, and you have good positioning available to you, you have a humongous range advantage over this Reaper. And it's only going to be in certain scenarios, especially like Koth maps, that Reaper's really able to farm Zen. And lastly, we have the last category. Just not good. You do not want to be playing Zenyatta against these characters. These are in my opinion, the hardest counters to Zenyatta in the entire game. And Zenyatta does not do a very good job of supporting them. One is Doomfist. Doomfist has the second highest mobility in the game outside of Hammond. You know, with his passive, he like his shields, he can have up to 400 health. He can kill you instantly. You may not even see it coming if he's got a good rollout available to him. It is a terrible matchup. You don't provide any CC. Your Discord, if you have really good positioning available to you and you can avoid Doomfist, so especially if you're able to play in like a room, for example, that he can't easily like slam into, Zen can blow up the Doomfist. That's sort of how he works against characters like Winston as well. But like Ana, Brig, Lucio, Moira, they're all much harder for Doom to kill. Doom is really, really good at killing Zen. In terms of Sombra, positioning against Sombra is different because you don't actually have to factor in range because she has infinite stealth. She can be anywhere at any point in time, and that's very annoying for Zen because you can't use distance to your advantage. Additionally, EMP leaves you with 50 HP, so all anybody has to do is sneeze on you. However, I'd say that the Sombra matchup can be better than the Doomfist matchup, though she doesn't have as strong of counters as Doomfist. But Transcendence, I mean, if you react to Trans to EMP, you've countered the EMP, or if you can like avoid it. If you have like a McCree on your team, you know, you and Cree can sort of play split. Sombra EMPs your tanks, you can just go in and Transcendence, and she doesn't want to force the duel on you and McCree. You know, other characters that work well with Zen are actually quite good against Sombra. Characters like Torbjorn, his turret is extremely annoying for her. Roadhog, another excellent choice. Even Brig, still like also not a very good matchup. Like if Sombra is like at the top of the meta, Zen is probably not very good. But if these other characters are strong, Sombra's probably not that good either, and you won't have to worry about her too much. So like these characters are very, very good against Zen, but they have like harder counters, I'd say, than a character like Tracer. Like you can actually build a team comp that is very good against these, though it's gonna be map specific. Like some maps, like these are completely unplayable for Zen, especially King of the Hill maps where you don't have good positioning available to you a lot of the time. Alright, so that's gonna be it for this video actually. Thank you for watching. I hope it gave you a good idea of when Zenyatta is looking strong, when Zenyatta is looking weak, what sort of matchups you should be playing into, what characters like play really well with Zen, which ones you don't want to play Zen with, stuff like that. If these characters are meta, you probably avoid Zen. If these characters are meta, Zen's looking pretty good. These characters are somewhere in the middle. So thank you all for watching, and hope you have a great day. Bye.